Hear the world calling, but son, don't you listen. They're only trying to drag you back into prison, that's right.
Welcome back to What Have You?
I'm Becca Merkel.
And I'm Rachel Jankovic, and once again, we lurk looking over the city of Moscow.
In the nighttime.
Yeah, but I have Diet Dr. Pepper, and she's got McDonald's coffee because we had to come out so late that even Starbucks was closed.
Starbucks was closed to us.
Yeah.
We didn't go in Goodwill.
Yeah, they're closed too. There may have been good finds in there,
There could
but
have been. We found them not.
Nope.
So
No such luck.
We're just here with our coffee and Dr. Pepper.
Wondering if we'll be suddenly hit with an insight.
We've got so many insights.
Oh, so
We've
many.
got the insights all over the place.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Rach, what have you been doing of late?
I've been trying to get back on the wagon with a routine at home. The wagon having left me in the dust.
The wagon left me in the dust, too. It's actually Grace Agenda because, at least for me, Grace Agenda was a crazy, crazy, ridiculous weekend.
Yes, but for me it was the weekend before, wasn't it? The weekend before was my brother-in-law's wedding, and I had family in town for like a week, and we had stuff going on. So it seems like God recently told us there will be no weekends, and that
pretty much.
I am appreciative of it because sometimes you realize, why do I think I should get a lot of time off?
Yeah.
Maybe
true.
I need to just recognize that that's not what it's for.
Getting back on the wagon. You know what, though? I have to pause.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, did you read Grandpa Jim's email about his mother in Omaha back in the olden times? So he was a boy.
Was this today or some other time?
Speaking of wagons running away with you.
Okay.
And they were taking their horses to market or something, to the stockyards, and everybody else had trucks, but they didn't have a truck yet, so his dad was driving the wagon, and his mom was leading the horses behind the wagon, and then they pulled into this big road in Omaha where all the other trucks were on their way to the stockyards, and then a car, like some idiot car, came up behind them and honked and freaked out the horses, and it went into a full-on wagon runaway. And it ended with his dad like yelling at his mom to jump from the wagon, and she jumped and ended up with stitches. And it was some like convoluted thing. I'm just speaking of wagons running away without you.
It's a family legacy of ours that we have runaway wagons.
We're leaping from speeding wagons with runaway horses.
Grandpa Jim's, I remember that from some family thing where they said when his older brother was little, they moved in the covered wagon.
Yeah.
And then when it was like 2 years later, they moved in a Buick.
Yeah,
like
so
they would bridge the gap from covered wagon to Buicks.
Know.
That seems like hard to imagine. That reminds me though of the an intro. I have read most of the book, but not the whole book, called Home Comforts. Okay. And this was years ago, like seriously 10 years ago, because I think I was pregnant with Lena when I was reading it. Okay. She's 12. So it was more than...
It was a while.
It was more than 10 years.
Or so.
Yeah, but the intro I just loved to that book. It's like a manual of housekeeping. You know, it's like a...
Okay.
But the whole intro is written by, like, a woman who's a lawyer. Like, the book is written by a lawyer, I think, who had, like, two grandmothers that were just amazing housekeepers.
Okay.
And one was Italian and one was English, but so they were very
that's
different.
Interesting. Yeah.
They were very different cultures of housekeeping, like how it has to be done, with all of these collisions over like how you make the bed. Because I think the English people were like, you get out of bed and you make the bed, you like make the thing, and that the Italian side was like, you never make the bed right away. You always let it air out, like you leave it, you like fluff it open and leave it out for a while before you make it. Anyways, she has these conflicting things. But anyways, what impressed me most in that intro that I keep remembering to this day was a woman who like pursued law and like kind of shut down all of her early heritage of domesticity and from these grandmothers. She had like all of this like cooking and housekeeping, and she shut all that down to go pursue a career.
Sure.
And that at some point had a major meltdown where she like couldn't stand the way she was living anymore. So it was like a weird kind of, so it was a very weird person to be like addressing domestic things, and it made it really interesting. But she was coming back kind of saying that all of this that we've lost all of this wonderful heritage, that, you know, she was really respecting it. But one of the things that she says she does not like people making fun of the 50s housewives. And she was like, because, you know, you'll read those manuals that's like vacuum all your upholstery twice a day.
Yeah.
They're like, wipe down your ceilings once a week. Mm-hmm. It's like things that you're thinking, what madness is this? Anyways, she said she does not like it. And she said, because nobody is thinking about who these women were. And she said, but for almost all of them, they had experienced outhouses. They had experienced fleas in your bed that there was nothing you could do about. Like, and that shift that was so sudden, like we were just talking about, from covered wagons to Buicks.
Yeah.
It was like shockingly sudden to like, you have a fridge in your house, you have a microwave maybe,
Except, I have to disagree with that, because
vacuums.
I think the first wave of women who hit that, absolutely, where it's just like, oh my word, they had to have been just reveling in it.
Right.
But they did not, like, the transition to even like the women 10 years later, not even like their own
you mean
daughters.
like when grandma talks about them sneaking together to play bridge all morning with their hair in curlers?
Not all morning, all day.
Yeah.
Like, until their husbands, like 15 minutes before their husbands came home.
Race home and dump a can of stew out in a pot.
Where it's just like, I think it doesn't take very long at all. Well, think about how we are with our phones.
Horrible.
I mean, when we first got married, I didn't have a cell phone. Actually, heck, 10 years ago, we were living in England, I didn't have a cell phone. We had one, but it was like Ben had it. And so now, like, I feel so lost if I'm out and I forgot my phone somewhere.
You
it's
can't
like,
call
oh my
anyone.
word.
You're like, well, why can't I access my recipes?
Right. So it takes no time to immediately take it for granted.
You're like, I can't make a grocery list without my phone.
But like the gratitude that we have, my daughters will just assume that that's how life is. And I think those housewives of the 50s, yes, the first wave, it had to have been just like thrilling.
Yeah.
But then
it
immediately just became boring and
I think I've just thought of the principle a lot whenever people are looking back so spitefully, like
disdainfully.
Yes, and like the same way with the way women were about formula. There was all that ridiculous wave of like, it's better to give your kids formula in sterilized bottles and all this. And they really overcompensated, but they were overcompensating from like much higher infant mortality rates to someone was like, did you know if you sterilize things, people don't get as sick? And then they just went way too far with it. Yeah. But it is not healthy to assume they were being idiots about it rather than assuming that they were not showing restraint with something.
The truth is, it's always easier to spot the flaws of other generations, and we see all the nuances of our own flaws, so we excuse them.
We were talking about the phone, and I go sometimes take the internet off of my phone. So I have Instagram, the app. I don't have Facebook in an app. So, but Instagram, I am not tempted to waste a lot of time on Instagram. It is not one that snookers me in.
Yeah.
But so if I take the internet off of my phone, it is shocking how distracted that, like, I just find this a really funny thing. So we do it in restrictions. So I would have my husband put a passcode in for the restrictions and we just remove the internet browser. We both do this. We do this from time to time. So I know the code to his and he knows the code to mine. So neither of us can hack our own phones. We do it kind of as just
check and see if I can do this for a while.
Yeah, well, or just if there's a time when you really feel like you're just not being very focused or whatever, we'll do it sometimes. But when we first did this, I noticed it and it was like, this is insane how much. So I'm cleaning out my kitchen cupboards and I find a can of pumpkin. You know, I'm like tidying up and I'm like, pumpkin. Like, we were going into the spring, I guess, probably a year ago, first time it's happened. And I was like, I don't want pumpkin in the cupboard all the way until we feel like having something pumpkin again in the fall. It was like, So this is like all very, the work of 2 seconds. I'm like, I should make some pumpkin muffins or something today to get rid of this.
Yeah.
Immediately pull out my phone to like look up a pumpkin muffin recipe. So like I start cleaning the cabinets. Now I'm gonna quick surf the internet for pumpkin muffins, which is not needed. It was already like to use that. It's like that the cost of that one can of pumpkin was gonna get really stupid. Anyways, because I noticed this because I didn't have the internet on my phone, right? Yeah. So you're like, well, I should just make a note. I have my laptop at home. I could walk over to the computer, but that sounds like work. Like somehow, and it sounds like an interruption to go get on the computer to look for a recipe. Sure, yeah. So I'm like, well, if I care when I don't have the internet on my phone, I'll make a note in notes that I should look up something. Like if it's like, oh, that's something I should do, I'll make a note. But the most hilarious thing to me is how making a note to go do that later on the computer,
putting it on your to-do list,
putting it on a to-do list makes me like, I don't have time for that. Like I don't have time to type out pumpkin muffins on a note, but I have time to like read the reviews of people who substituted carob for whatever. Be like, I have time to somehow dig into the depths of alternate streusel toppings. Like, but I don't have time to type
to go to my
pumpkin
laptop.
Muffin or to walk over there. And I find it's like a very weird mental trick because on your phone you're standing there somewhere, probably. Like you could be standing in front of your washer or dryer.
Yeah, feeling like you're doing laundry.
When you're actually not. You're actually not, right? And then it's so funny because I find that if I put it on my to-do list, comparison shop tights, I am like, do you think I have time for that?
Well, what kills me is oftentimes I will pull my phone out, open whatever it is up, and I have no idea what thought process I was even, because like it's just a
and then later it hits you. Oh, I was gonna look up colonial moldings.
Yeah,
why was I gonna do that?
Moldings. I was gonna see if there's some glitter color between silver and gold.
Yes, I was looking for sort of
champagne
a ballet color.
Just because
it was gonna be important. It was gonna mean something when I found that out. And you're like just stuffing the most useless information in your head. Like you're like, oh, I should check that.
I don't know. Maybe this contributes to copiousness,
Well, sometimes I think it probably does, but a lot of the time what I find is that I switch to writing in a notebook, and I realized I was like all of these various organizational questions that I had in my life that I realized that my main problem is I prefer pen and paper. Like
I do too.
I just prefer it. I like to have paper and pen. But my main problem is that my life no longer has me sitting at a desk with pen and paper. So it's much harder to organize your life with pen and paper when you're not doing that.
I have tried numerous menu scheduling techniques, and I way prefer writing it out.
I do that same thing. But what I found that was really funny for me is that the one thing that makes a huge difference in my day is making the time to sit down with my notebook. Mm-hmm. When I'm like, all I need to do is like 10 minutes.
I'm going to tell you where I go off the trail. Is as soon as I
have to custom design a notebook. Yeah.
Because then I'm like, oh.
Actually, it needs to be said that I still own a little bottle of glycerin, right? That is waiting until I mix it up with some gelatin.
To make
peel off nip pads.
Heck yes. I still use that stuff. No, see, I have a real weakness for needing to custom design the notebook itself. I have journeyed.
You have done so much of this. I feel like basically custom made fabric to Mod Podge on the outside of a menu plan.
I could go like down the 8-day path just to get.
She could. She's not exaggerating. No. She can do that.
But one thing that I am happy about that's a custom notebook of mine is I did figure out, okay, my menu plan, how do I like to write it out? What do I have to take into account? Lots of times it's sort of well, currently we're in a little bit of a...
Oh, it's a bad season.
Well, I was going to say it's a bit of a breather for me because I've got a high school lacrosse schedule, a high school track schedule, and a junior high lacrosse schedule, but I don't have 4 different ones. Anyway, so that does mean kids with away games or us at home games, and it's like I need to look at my week and think, do I have to pack a dinner for somebody? Do we need to pack dinner for all of us? Are we going to be eating late? Are we going to be, what are we doing? And so I did it on the computer. I got it all there so I could fill in the stuff that I wanted, and then I made a nifty cover. Nifty. It is. And then
Niffers?
And then okay, it's cute. I laminated the thing at Kinko's in this weird pouch that is like adhesive on the back and laminated on the front. Then put it on mat board, trimmed it off, took it in to Kinko's and had them spiral bind it. And it's a really like solid, like stiff cover. And I love that thing. It's held like iron. And I've been using it because I had enough pages in it for a year of weekly menus. And you may snicker, but it's cute and it's held up. And then, I made my own notepad. I did.
That it's cute or that it's holding up.
But I made a notepad of my grocery list for the week. Divided up, this is smart, into produce at the front end, and then the bulk section, because I do it the way I walk through Winco. So it's like produce and then bulk and then dairy and then, not dairy, but cheese, and then frozen and meat and dairy and blah. So, and then as I'm planning my menu, I write everything, the aisles. And it ends with the bakery. But anyway, then as you're filling in your grocery list, you put it in the right section, and then you can just walk through the store getting the things in order. Because I hate it.
And your life will just be changed.
Well, it is, because when you get down to the bakery and you remember you need an onion, you stand there going, is it worth it? Should I walk back or should I come back on Wednesday? You know you've done that.
You know what would have kept me from doing that? Is if only I had a cute notebook.
No, it's not the cute. That one, it's organized. It gives me one tiny glimmer of
No, I actually do. I actually do sometimes make my list in order of the proceedings through the store.
Yeah, it's a smart
but I often
way
don't.
To do it.
Oftentimes I don't do that.
Well, I oftentimes don't too. When you're scrolling it on some random envelope on your way to the store.
I'm not on a high point of my shopping prowess because right now I'm doing the thing where like every meal is coming as a surprise to me. I'm like, what? There. Breakfast? What were we gonna do about this?
Meanwhile, tonight we had to buy 60 hamburger buns because my daughter's class is doing a hot lunch fundraiser tomorrow, so we had to hit that.
Well, meanwhile, I went to the store right after school pickup to get stuff. But I think we had dinner and then we have a few extra apples. But I'm pretty sure I don't have anything to pack for lunches tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Pretty sure. And all of these things are things that I sometimes am very organized about and on top of.
No, but it takes no time to get behind on.
It's just that it's hard to catch up.
Speaking of wagons that you fall off of. No, okay, so here's what I was thinking about. This actually may take a moment to explain. I know that you'll catch my drift, but you never know if other people listening in on our
we won't know until later
wavelength here. Okay, so this is what I was pondering the other day. I grabbed a book, like a Kindle book, to read because I needed something to read, and it looked vaguely interesting. It was like by a fashion designer. I don't remember the author or the title of the book, but it was about fashion design, but it looked like it was a slightly bigger than that. It just looked like she might have interesting things to say. So I start reading it, and I was just totally blindsided by the amount of shallow that this is. Like, it's incredible because she's made it in the design world. Oprah Winfrey wore her dress and Michelle Obama wore her dress, and she tells her story of like how she did it. And you realize that her entire conception of fulfillment and success in life is being able to afford that brand or stay in that hotel, and that's all. And it's like, literally, that's all. So she talks about how you too can get to the place where you could afford that brand of shoe and live like you can, even before you can, live like it and believe in yourself and basically harness the power of covetousness so that you can
drive you into the future.
Yeah, so she's literally suggesting that you make yourself a bulletin board of covetousness.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like, put
this
up
is who I will
pictures
be.
of what you will be, the lifestyle you want to have. Make sure you include glamorous pictures
you should bring
of,
up that this is also
Cary
the weirdness
Grant
that people,
in a tuxedo looking somehow, anyway. But so anyway, she's
kind of devious.
It was just striking to me how at the end of the day, what she's trying to urge everyone that they could find the power within themselves and channel the universe in order that they too may be able to wear that watch. And it's like,
boy, what a thing to put on your gravestone.
Yeah, but here's what
she wore: the Louboutins.
She had it, and she wore those, Manolo shoes, and she whatever. And actually, the thing is, mixed in, there's actually some good advice and there's some interesting stuff and whatever. But it's like she just has no idea, and she talks about like
being
how
kind of tone deaf because she doesn't realize.
Well, she's saying like basically if you're interviewing for a job, dress like you want to be the CEO. Like dress for the top, and then make sure that you keep up on what's hot right now in books and in the news and in like what hotels and restaurants, so that you can talk about it in a way that people will think that you are well informed, which is weird. So funny. It's like, it's not about the books, it's not about the travel, it's about being able to show people that you know about the book,
looking kind of the part.
So but here's what hit me. Now, this is the part where you're going to have to do the leap here, but
no, I
when we were in England, so we were in England the first time, we went in 2003, we had 4 tiny little kids, and so 2003, we arrive in Oxford, we spent the summer there, we didn't have a car, so we're going on foot everywhere, and it was right at this craze in England of Burberry. Like, everyone in the world had Burberry plaid everything, and so you remember the Burberry plaid, right?
Yeah.
It's like that pretty beige plaid. But it was seriously everywhere. And I didn't know what it was. And I didn't recognize it. I just saw it and I thought, oh, I love that, because it's not your typical hunter green and red plaid. It was like, it was fresh and it was cool. And I really liked it. And it was like, I need to find something like that to take home with me, right? Because it was just really pretty. And lots of the stuff that I was seeing was really pretty. But it was so funny because we were there and my mother-in-law was with us on the trip. So we were looking for it. We couldn't figure out what it was, and we would ask people, what's that plaid that we see everywhere? And they would say, what's plaid? And we'd be like, plaid, like stripes going one way and the other way also, like plaid. And first people would be like checks. I'd be like, no, like how do you say plaid in another way? It was just a funny, and then they would say, like a tartan? And be like, yeah, like a tartan, except it's a different color, like it's a light one. And then I think somebody said, do you mean Burberry? And I was like, I don't know, do I? Like, it was this funny conversation. And eventually I saw there was like a kiosk in the street, and it was selling a Burberry purse, and it was like, that's really cute, and it was cheap, so I was like, oh, I should grab that, because I don't remember, it's like £3 or £5 or embarrassingly cheap. Holy cow, was that the worst thing you've ever seen. It was like the most tacky, cheesy, bad printed plastic thing you've ever seen, and it was such a letdown, because you're like, what was this? Like, I thought it was cooler. Like, it seemed like it was cooler, and this isn't cooler.
You did buy it?
Yes, I bought it.
Because you were, like, on the quest, so you
because,
did
it's like, hey, it's right there. I'll grab that, because, look, it's cheap, too. And then it was like,
it's from the dollar store.
A duck. Like, what is this thing that I bought?
Obsessed with finding my Burberry something.
But I didn't know what Burberry was.
I'm invested in a Burberry garbage bag.
And so then, like, when I finally figured out what Burberry was, it was like, oh my gosh, okay, all right. Now, after you know what Burberry is, you would never, ever, ever be tempted by the 5-pound knockoff in the street. It didn't even rise to the level of knockoff. It was so bad. It was really bad. And I thought, you know what? That is what this woman's life is. It's it's the terrible, cheap Burberry knockoff, and she doesn't realize that that's what it is.
Like, doesn't know what real joy, fulfillment is.
And then I was thinking of that verse, let your beauty not be merely outward, but let it be the hidden person of the heart, gentle and quiet spirit that is very precious in the sight of God. And I was like, actually, if you just think about that language, don't let it be merely outward. Don't let it be the cheap
let it actually
knockoff.
be the right brand.
The valuable, the precious one, the one that's actually worth something.
Right, and it's probably worth something because it cost something. Because
it's like what God values, the thing that you should be striving for in beauty is the thing that's actually, like, go for the name brand. Please do not buy the horrible
but it's not the
kiosk
name. I think what I was trying to say is it's not the name brand. Like, some things are just expensive because they're just trying to be important. And they're not important and they're not expensive. No. Some things are expensive because the craftsmanship and the work that went into it and the amount of everything is there. And that's what you're saying, is that there's actual value in it because it's real value. Yes. It's not pretend value.
I did buy my husband a jacket in Oxford from this tailor that is the sort of like by appointment to Her Majesty the Queen, and it's been there since the 1600s.
Ravenscroft?
Yeah, Eden Ravenscroft. And I bought that jacket, and it was like, the thing is,
I can't think of that without thinking of Nate.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. That's a separate story though. But the thing is that, so this tailor, you buy the jacket, and it was stupidly expensive. I got it for him for like our 10th anniversary. But the thing is, it's worth every penny, because as soon as you pick it up, it is like, I can't even compare this to a Macy's suit coat. You know what I mean? Like, it is just so very different. But I have to say though, as a side note, I looked up Burberry when I was thinking about this the other day, because my phone was in my pocket, and so I quickly pulled it out.
Stopped, dropped, and did that while you were doing the laundry. And I looked it up,
and I have to say, first off, that I feel slightly vindicated that I didn't know what it was, because we were there in 2003, and they didn't start selling in the U.S. until 2006, or online until 2006. And also, weirdly, it was at a fever pitch between like 2001 and 2005. Burberry turned into this huge thing in the UK, and it became associated with like sort of hooligan culture, and it got so everywhere, and it was knocked off so much that, and it was associated with the kind of rough and tumble antisocial crowd. So then that's called chav, or I don't know how you pronounce it, but it looks like that. Anyway, by the time we moved back, when we moved there in 2006, it was nowhere. It was completely nowhere. And Burberry had like reduced that plaid down to only like 10% of their products. But I was reading about the history of it, and they outfitted the World War I soldiers with trench coats. And I had never connected the dots that the trenches of World War I and trench coats. And so they made the trench coats for the soldiers, and the lining later, the lining was that plaid. But it's kind of like those Fry boots, where it's like that's just a beautiful brand, and but it's a historic brand. They made boots for the Civil War soldiers, both sides, I think. Anyway, it's like
cavalry.
It's an old historic brand, and they do beautiful work, and it's really stunning. And then when you don't know what it is and you buy the stupid pleather, it's not even, I mean, it was like so tacky. Anyway, my point is this woman who thinks she's made it, she thinks she has the fulfilled life, she thinks that she's got it all, and she's encouraging us all to do it too. I just feel like she's urging everybody to buy the like tacky street kiosk version of a beautiful quality item.
Totally.
You know? And anyhow, that was what I was thinking about.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one, she says. That thought was a good one.
It is a good one. It's
Can you tell Rachel's yawning her head off?
Congratulations on your good thought.
But
I feel like I got the giggles in the middle of that about Eden Ravenscroft, because
oh my word,
because when our brother and his wife and their 5 kids four at the time, because Mari wasn't born yet, went to visit them in England, and so they're staying in this house with shag carpet in the bathroom. The story Nate goes to get this suit done and get measured for it.
Well, yeah, because it's a tailored suit, and so he goes to get measured.
It's the tailor too. It's one of the ones that
actually, if you look at their website, they make coronation robes.
Yeah, so basically, it's a hot tailor. So
it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous tailor.
So he goes and gets measured for a suit there, but then they go back to stay at the Merkel's house that's largely unfurnished for enough people. There were like not enough chairs for everyone.
Yeah.
Not enough. And as he tells it was one of those majorly chaotic times. People were not, and Seamus was crawling.
It must have been like 9 children under about 9.
Yeah, and Seamus was crawling, and it was like raining outside, so all the windows were foggy on the inside.
Well, they always were, really.
Right, so it's a moment of hilarity and tension in the home with lots of... he said he's following Seamus, who's crawling everywhere. And so Seamus was crawling up the stairs, and Nate was trying to feed him a yogurt or something.
Yeah.
And there were no way to lock him in or lock him down, so Nate's just following him around with the yogurt. And it ends up with Seamus going into the bathroom, and so Nate goes in and just sits down on the toilet with the with the yogurt still, feeding him in the bathroom. And then he hears Becca calling him, like, Nate! and he's just, what? And she's like...
But he doesn't just say what. He does his funny voice. He does his funny voice, like, what is it?
Yes, and so she's going, where are you? And then he yells at the top, like, in his funny voice. He was not angry. He
no.
He just yells,
being funny.
I'm sitting on the toilet feeding Seamus a yogurt. And at which moment he realizes that Becca has the phone for him with the man from...
He didn't recognize. And I just, as they walk around the corner holding the phone to hand him, Nate announces loudly, I'm sitting on the toilet feeding Seamus yogurt. And I hand him the phone, and he picks it up and is like, hello? And the man from the shop goes, I'm so sorry to disturb you, sir.
I think he was calling about like whether he wanted one dart or two in the back
vent,
or
like
some
a double vent or a single vent.
Either way, it was. And Nate's like, I didn't think I could get out of that one. I don't think there's no explanation for who or what Seamus is. Why I'm feeding him yogurt and why on the toilet? Like he's
like, there's nowhere else in this house to sit.
And I was like, I gotta tell you that I could only sit down on the toilet.
And he's just sitting there, the door's wide open. He's just kind of sitting there feeding Seamus some yogurt. And
obviously there's no explanation for any of that. It's like, well, we can't get out of that now.
It's like, it's the crazy Americans.
So while using the classiest tailor in England that you can come by,
use them.
Also make sure you do something really awkward. Particularly awkward.
It's pretty good, but I do love their stuff. I've gotten Ben a couple things from there, and it's just the thing is, it's worth every single penny. It really is, because it's somebody who knows what they're doing. Anyway, well, we've probably talked for way too long. Anyway.
Have we?
We probably
do we have time for a quick recommend?
Yeah. What do you want to recommend? Because look at how much time we've spent.
Too much?
Oh, we're okay. What do you want to recommend?
What's your favorite, or no, not favorite, because that's too hard. What is a meal that would be good this time of year that you make for your family?
Oh.
Like an easy but still good meal.
I will tell you. Well, let's see. Well, now I'm torn. I have too many that I need to think about. Okay, I've got a good one.
Okay.
It's a Jamie Oliver recipe, and it is staggeringly good. So, it involves roasting a chicken, which is not hard. But, you stuff it with lemons and thyme and, rub it with butter and salt and pepper and stuff. And then you roast it. I'm trying to think how this works, though. So you roast the chicken, then you take it out and you save all the drippings that were in the pan. And you have a bunch of bread, like a really nice hefty country loaf kind of bread that you've torn into sort of chunks, not like thumb size kind of chunks. And You know,
I would
like
not have thought of calling it a thumb
I think
size.
that it says that in the recipe, which is why
Really?
it occurred to me.
Okay.
So, you know, but like biggish croutons, but not huge hunks. And then you pour the drippings
My thumb or
from
Luke's
the pan.
thumb? Yeah.
So you pour the drippings from the pan over it, and then you, I think you have to like read the recipe.
What is it
It's
called?
like an epic chicken bread salad or something like that. But then you put bacon strips over the top, and you roast the tray until the bacon's crisp and they're kind of like croutoned up, and you throw like cherry tomatoes in with it, and then you steam a bunch of green beans off to the side. You shred the chicken up, and you put it all together like these big like toasted bread, and they're gorgeous, like with the chicken juices
can you
on
get
it.
this one on the internet?
Yeah, you tear the bacon up, you throw the green beans in, and then you make like a dressing that has a ton of fresh mint and scallions and
good.
stuff. It's really like a fresh, yummy dressing. Toss the whole thing together, and it is like to die for good. But you have to really nail the dressing, because he says his recipes are like throw a few glugs of olive oil on and then throw some other, and I actually make up a dressing and I taste it to make sure that it's really
Right.
good, and like I like it to be really punchy and tangy and powerful, you know,
Yeah.
because by the time it's spread out over all the stuff, it loses a lot of its kick. So anyhow, it's like fresh green beans and chicken and roasted cherry tomatoes and bread and bacon, and it is like, oh my word. I think it's called Epic like bread chicken salad. If you Googled that, you'd be able to find it. It's
Epic bread chicken salad.
yeah, Epic is in the title, but I love that one. And it's kind of a transition-y time where it's not quite springy. It's
Right.
got the roasted chicken, but it's also got the fresh mint green bean kind of thing. It's really good. I love that one. How about you? What's your
I don't actually think I have anything of that kind, but I was realizing that we have to start making our bricks of Jello again.
of Jello?
Jello, you know,
For
our
Easter?
the Easter Jello cubes that we make every year. That Luke makes. The rainbow cubes.
Yes, but yeah.
I was
When
realizing
did you do the eggs? I thought you did those in eggs.
We did the Jello eggs years ago, but we've given that up since then to just do it. We do
Cubes.
the huge pan
That's
of
right.
the rainbow.
And they are pretty rad.
And they cut them in there. It's like the only time of year we make Jello ever is Easter. And the funny thing is we act like we're just making Jello for the kids, but the adults all eat the Jello.
Well, it is pretty intense, that Jello.
It is. I think the thing that I've been making, I haven't been doing really awesome with thoughtful new food, but we do love those pork. It's like a cooking light recipe. Pork pineapple kebabs. It's like red onion, and it calls for pork tenderloin, which is really good, but I have used pork loin to get more meat for the
it's cheap.
Yeah. So then it's just pineapple and red onion, and the thing that I like about that one is that the dressing is actually really, really, not the dressing, the marinade is, it doesn't have to marinate very long. It's like Chinese 5-spice powder and honey and pineapple juice and soy sauce and garlic, and it's yummy.
It's incredible.
Ginger, and then you marinate it all, and you grill it with pineapple, and we generally do like coconut rice, but then you do like a mango salsa, like
it's
mango
amazing.
with that.
I love it when you do that one.
It's so different and good.
Oh,
like just
and
a
fresh.
nice, yes.
The coconut rice and the mango salsa with the pork is like,
It was really
an
good, and it
amazing
has
combo.
that nice like brighter. Or Nick
So,
will.
anyways,
That's
it. I don't even remember.
I
What we were
think
talking about.
that recipe is mango. It's like pork. You can find it with. Well, maybe I'll find it and link it with the post.
Yeah, no, we should do that,
recipe.
and I'll find mine and link it too.
And you can find us now. We decided to try to make a Facebook page. So there is a Facebook page. So if you had questions or comments or rude insults about how
actually,
thoughtless we were,
that does bring something up. People totally should write in if they have something, like, because I feel like we spend all of our time talking over the top of each other. I feel like it's only fair to let other people have a say. Anyway, so we have a Facebook page now, and we will try to put the episodes up as they come out. So if you want to look there, you should be able to find us.
Yeah, well.
And Rachel's gonna fall asleep.
So sorry.
She's gonna fall right asleep. So I gotta get her home.
My voice sounds weird anyways.
We're gonna need to go. So
yes. Have a good night.
Good night. Bye.